This is Dave at AFX Search, licensed investigators and bodyguard agency in Palm Beach, Florida. A lot of clients ask us about armed security, bodyguards, personal security. The first thing that we recommend is if you are interested or think you need any type of security or personal protection, make sure that the agency and the agents that you have, number one, are licensed. It may seem like a small thing. We run into a large number of unlicensed security that are providing services for high net worth and affluent clients. This can create a problem. If there's any issue that comes up, these unlicensed security people can create liability for the client. The other thing is armed security in almost every state, including Florida, requires a firearms license that's not the standard civilian CCW or concealed carry weapons license. It's a separate security firearms license. In the state of Florida, it's called the G license. In many other states, there's other license. In California, you need a blue card. This is a license that requires extensive training. They realize at the state level of licensing that a person who is a bodyguard providing security is more likely to need to use their firearm than a standard civilian in the everyday world. For that reason, there is extensive training on the laws of when the firearm can be used, when deadly force and lethal force can be employed. And if the person who is entrusted with your security does not have that knowledge, two things can happen. Number one, they may use it when they're not allowed to, and that can create liability for you. If you hired that person and they use a firearm or deadly force to protect you, that could come back to haunt you if for some reason they weren't allowed to do it in that situation. Number two, if they are allowed to use lethal force in the situation and they're not trained to do it properly, that may put you at risk, your family at risk, and again, may create liability if it's done the wrong way. Ask any potential personal protection provider how they would handle a threat. Ideally, you want to defuse the threat with non-lethal force, without use of a firearm unless it's absolutely necessary, and at that point, it's to defend and retreat from that threat, not to be aggressively hostile towards the threat. Also ask if that licensed for the use of a firearm that's beyond that CCW, that G license or that security license, if they're current with their proficiency. In almost every state, it's required that there's an annual firearms qualification that has to be met to keep that license active. Even if you look at the license and it has an active date, if they haven't done their firearms qualification, that license may not be active. So you want to check to make sure the license is active, that it's current, that they also have insurance. Is there a liability insurance? God forbid they do harm to somebody, that they have insurance to cover that, and what are the limits? You know, $500,000 or $1 million worth of liability insurance might not even be the tip of the iceberg if a professional bodyguard that you've hired does harm to somebody using a firearm that either was not allowed or that was illegal in that state. So personal security and bodyguard is an important thing. This is life or death decisions that you're making to have somebody that's armed protect you in your family to make sure they know what you're doing and they're not going to create more harm than even not having a firearm.